Welcome to the Joyful Writer Podcast, a place for writers to nurture their creativity, rekindle their love for writing, and cultivate a joyful author mindset. I'm your host, China Pace. Hello, writers. Welcome to episode 5 of the Joyful Writer Podcast. So, I know a lot of you guys are probably knee-deep into your various NaNoWriMo projects, or maybe you're not participating in NaNoWriMo at all, and you just want a pep talk to keep you going in your regular writing routine. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm doing NaNoWriMo, but I'm also working on my other writing projects and all kinds of author business stuff. So I am in deep need of a pep talk, and I had a feeling you guys might too. So that's why I'm here. And today we're going to be talking about imagination, and specifically how imagination can either help us or harm us, and how we can utilize our imaginations as writers to benefit us and our creativity and our writing and just our well-being as humans. So first, I want to ask you guys, how do you view imagination? Do you just see it as like this vague source of creativity where your ideas are born and you come up with your characters and your plot lines and you brainstorm things? Or do you see it as an invaluable source both to your creative life and your non-creative life, your regular day-to-day life? Do you view your imagination as something that can help you, something that you can use for your benefit? Or are you kind of just like indifferent to it? Personally, I have always been very fascinated with imagination, and I've talked about being intrigued by dreams and the mind on my YouTube channel as well. And that's kind of all connected for me with regards to imagination, because I feel like the mind is so powerful, and we can either take that power and use it for our benefit and use it to build ourselves up and to build others up, or we can use it to discourage ourselves and berate ourselves and fuel our fears instead of our creativity. So it's very much a dangerous and yet powerful tool that we have at our disposal. And so I think about this a lot, especially in relation to writing, because more often than I care to admit, my imagination is working against me. I don't know if you guys deal with this, but my imagination will conjure up these images and scenes and just horrible thoughts of me failing as a writer. My books being horribly received, never selling another copy, just awful, awful scenarios of fear and lies and just icky negativity that isn't true. And that's one of the ways I think that our imagination can be used against us, because like I said, it is so powerful, and one of the ways it's powerful is that it conjures up these extremely real and convincing scenes in our minds, and they're very believable. And so that says something, because we see these things in our mind, whether they are fearful things or joyful things. And those things have the power to change us, either for better or worse. And so I have been trying to fuel my imagination with good things and joyful things and happy scenarios of the future and my writing journey and just the whole creative process in general. And so I feel like that's how we should be using our imaginations, and we should take care to use our imagination that way, because so much of what we see in our mind and the thoughts that we think and believe about ourselves can determine how we create and how we write our stories and how we feel while we're writing, and after we're writing, how we feel about what we've written. How many times have you thought to yourself while writing, oh, this is terrible. Oh, my writing sucks. This is going nowhere. And my prose is awful. And this dialogue isn't realistic. And this is never going to sell. And people are never going to like this. You know, all of that originates in your imagination. And you see it plain as day, as if it's already happened. And that's the thing that I don't think we are careful enough with, is really protecting our imagination and actually making an effort to fill it with good things, because it can run rampant if we don't, you know, take care to stop it from running rampant. But sometimes it is a good thing for it to run rampant, but we want it to run rampant in a positive direction. We want our imaginations to empower us, not bring us down. And I also feel like we need to dissociate ourselves from that belief that says, you know, imagination is having your head in the clouds, or imagination is getting your hopes up. I think that's really not true, and kind of sad that that kind of belief system got started. I was watching an interview of Ray Bradbury, and the interviewer asked him about his novels being of the fantasy genre. And he said, you know, I'm sure you were raised, like I was, to believe that fantasizing is being idle, or, you know, something that we shouldn't do. And Ray Bradbury said something that really resonated with me. He said that he has always felt that to fantasize is the ability to survive and the ability to grow. And when I heard that, I just had to stop and just go, wow. I mean, it's so profound, and yet it's so simple and something we forget. You know, we are told not to get our hopes up, but the opposite of that is what? Getting our fears up. You know, if we're not letting our imaginations run in a positive direction, we're letting them run in a negative direction. And I really feel like it's better to imagine good things and peaceful things and things that bring us joy than things that scare us or worry us or fuel our worst fears. And so, how do we integrate that into our writing life? How do we use imagination as an invaluable resource and tool to help us when we're writing and to empower our creativity? One of the ways that I try to do this is really just by being mindful of what I'm intaking and what I'm consuming and what I'm exposing my imagination to. I try not to let in things that discourage me or really just fuel those negative feelings of self-doubt, or, you know, just critical feelings and critical thoughts of myself and my writing. For everyone, it's going to be different. I know that a lot of writers will feel discouraged if they spend a lot of time on social media, or when they see someone, an author, doing really well and they feel like they won't ever reach that point of success. For me, I often get these feelings when I'm hearing authors discuss their personal journeys and their methods for self-publishing and marketing. For me, most of my negativity and insecurities around my writing process come from the publishing side of things and the marketing side of things. So I try not to expose myself to stuff like that too often out of protection for my imagination because it has a tendency to make me go off into, oh, I'm not doing this right. Oh, I need to be trying this technique or this tactic, or, they're more successful than I am and I'll never reach that point, just useless, unfounded worries. And so instead of consuming that, I try to consume very peaceful, calming, joy bringing media and videos and books. I like to watch videos of Ray Bradbury giving interviews. I like to listen to peaceful music or rain sounds. I like to read old books and really dive into the old authors like Agatha Christie and Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft and really immerse myself in the creativity of those days and get inspired by how the writers of that time worked. I like to watch movies or TV shows that inspire me creatively and that sort of get my juices flowing and make me excited to write my own stories. Just anything that really sparks that flame and gets me wanting to rush to my laptop to write my stories and gets me excited about the future and what's in store for my writing career. You want to be excited. You need to be excited. Because if you're not excited, if you're not just totally exhilarated and just in love with what you're doing, then, why do it? Because writing is hard and you can't really survive if you don't love it and love it deeply. In order to keep that love going and to keep that flame, strong, we don't need to let darkness and negativity come into our imagination. We need to be mindful of what we're putting into our mind and our thoughts and what we're letting ourselves think and what we're letting ourselves look at in our mind's eye. So instead of seeing yourself as a potential failure and visualizing nobody buying your books, everybody thinking you're the worst writer of all time, envision yourself having a movie deal, being on the set of a movie based off of your book. Imagine accepting an award for your novel or, having that New York Times bestseller on your book. Imagine, selling enough books to be able to do something really nice for your family. One thing I always imagine, and something I always come back to when I'm feeling down, is taking my grandmother on a trip to Europe and England and Italy and places like this because she's always wanted to go and I've always wanted to go too, together with her. So that's one of the things that I continue to imagine and to put into my brain when I need a pick-me-up and a reminder to keep going. If you're going the traditional route, you can imagine yourself having that phone call with your literary agent. You can imagine getting published and seeing your book on the shelves for the first time. You can imagine doing a book signing, speaking on a panel, all of these things that bring joy and light to our eyes and get us excited for our future and our journeys as writers. And ultimately, that's what keeps us going. And don't let yourself say that you're fantasizing too much or getting your hopes up, because if we're brave enough to think positively and to go against the grain and to shift away from our human negative tendencies, then just like Ray Bradbury said, we are learning to survive and we are growing and we are turning our backs on darkness and fear, instead opening our arms to welcome love and power and hope and joy. And those are the things that, in the long run, keep us coming back and back again to our computer or to our notebook or to the typewriter. They are the things that empower us to tell our stories and to keep writing even when things are tough. So use your imagination for your benefit. Use your imagination to go places you've never been before, to get excited about what's waiting for you on your author journey. View your imagination as an essential tool and protect it and fuel it with good things. And just like when you sow a little seed, you'll soon find that you'll reap an amazing harvest. That's all for today, guys. I hope that this episode finds you well, and that if you're working on NaNoWriMo, it's going well for you, and if you're not, that you're staying in peace and in joy while you're working on whatever you're working on, and that you will continue to just be joyful and be excited about your author journey and your creative journey. To close, I'm going to tell you guys one of my favorite quotes from the book Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery. When you are imagining, you might as well imagine something worthwhile. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.